Hey everybody, it's Sarah Gura from the Self-Care Path. I'm a master's level licensed clinical professional counselor in Illinois and a licensed mental health counselor here in Florida. My practice is the Self-Care Path, and I specialize in treating first responders. First and foremost, I like everybody to take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, just let your body relax. I often say that adults just don't take a moment to feel their body, and they run through their days without ever pulling their shoulders down and away from their ears or spreading their fingers like the starfish. I spread my toes. I like to sit down through my hips. So I hope you do all of those things. And for funsies, I decided to ask my sister Colleen to start podcasting with me. So here she is. Hi, Colleen.
Hello, everybody. I'm Colleen Gura Collins, and I have a background in the film industry. I was a costumer for 15 years, and then a whole bunch of shit happened, like the like the strikes and COVID, and now I'm a stay-at-home mom.
And this is our first podcast together ever, but you've also been doing some office administrator work for me. How's that going?
It's going well, actually. Learning a lot, and it's a new experience. I like learning new things all the time, so it's something that I'm proud to do for you.
Well, I think that's a really nice answer. It could be interesting working with family. I've been working with my mom, as most of my clients know. She's been the office administrator and, doing my billing. She used to answer phones when that was back in the day relevant, I guess. And so now I'm switching over with you, which I love and I enjoy. But I always am like, it's always a little interesting dynamic to have family members in your business.
I agree. Absolutely.
So we designed this introduction podcast on a bit of a whim and decided to do 20 questions. And I'm going to start by asking you the first question, and we'll see
Okay.
if we can get through this. All right.
All
So,
right.
how did the idea first come up for the two of you to start this podcast together? Was it a serious plan right away or a what if moment that grew?
Oh, well, Sarah brought it up, and it was definitely a what if moment. And because she asked me to bring the comedy, um, which I will do my best, but I'm definitely not a licensed clinical professional like my sister. So if I answer anything, it's going to be like a real world view, so to speak. But I thought it would be fun and to give it a try and see what would happen and what kind of shenanigans we can come up with together.
Yeah, I definitely think that you have like a good display of emotion and the ability to bring the comedy. Colleen, in our personal and family life, can use a movie quote spot on, and it's incredibly relevant and brings, the humor to some of the serious shit that we all go through. So I'm really glad that we decided to at least give this a try.
Yes, me too. Me too. Well, my turn for your
Yes,
first question.
yes,
So,
yes.
can you tell everybody what your credentials are and how they different, or excuse me, how they differ from other psychology professionals?
Yes. So I am a licensed clinical professional counselor in Illinois and a licensed mental health counselor in Florida. They really mean the same thing, same level, different states, different names. But sometimes people will call me a psychologist or ask if I'm a psychiatrist, and people don't always know what the difference is. But LCPCs and LMHCs, like I am, are really equivalent to like the licensed clinical social workers and the licensed marriage and family therapists. And then above us are doctoral level psychologists. They do a lot of the psych testing. If you have a legal issue in the first responder world, you're going to need to go to them for fit for duties and for other like major deciding factors about your career. I don't do that. I do the counseling part. So then there's a psychiatrist, and a psychiatrist is another doctoral level psychology professional, but they have an MD and they're prescribing medications. So really important to kind of notice like what we're doing. And maybe in the first responder world, we could say like my level was the lieutenant and the psychologist will give them the battalion chief. And then we'll say that the psychiatrist is the, chief chief. So You can kind of see the progression, of what we do. And so I'm going to go in the fire with my clients. I'm going to go on scene, not literally, but metaphorically. I'm doing all the grunty counseling work to get them wherever they want to be. Whereas that psychologist might spend more time on the testing, reporting, and a psychiatrist with meds.
Wow, actually, I didn't even know that. You're my sister. So,
Boom,
no,
shakalaka.
right. So that gives me a better level of perspective of where you are. So wonderful. All
Yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah, at the bottom.
Yeah. Aren't we all?
So I want to ask you the next question. It says,
Okay.
what kind of impact are you hoping this podcast will have, especially given the mental health element?
Oh, so well, one thing that in my career, something that I always wanted to do as a kid was really be entertaining and be funny. And I was the annoying child in our family, because I would just be spouting off movie quotes. I'd be loud and in your face. But what I really hope that we can make a connection with is that the entertainment world, tries to not mirror, but show the realities of life through storytelling. And there are comedy movies, where there are days where every situation just gets funnier and funnier, and then there are days where each situation makes it worse and worse. And how are you going to make it out, or how are you going to deal with this? And it almost feels like movies or TV shows can relate to you and your experiences or your relationships, and can help you figure out what you feel so that you can communicate to other people with the needs that you have. Or if you got stuck and you're like, oh, wow, that's exactly how I felt. That character was perfect in expressing how I was feeling. So I'm hoping that with, the connection of entertainment and real life situations and needing that release to figure out how to express that emotion or express that need, we can kind of work together to bring our audience, all five of you, one of you, I don't know, maybe one day millions of you, can be able to communicate better with each other.
And that brings me to the peer support idea of listen, validate, relate, and it does come through storytelling. And it wasn't until COVID hit that I decided to do podcasting. I'm trying to take it seriously, but unpaid work and like taking time out to talk about work has always been a little bit of a for me. But it does seem to help because when I get an email or a text message on my work phone that says, thank you so much for that podcast, or this really helped me, or this inspired me in some way, I'm like, okay, storytelling or talking about my career, especially because it's so unique and it was uncharted territory at one point. I do think it should and can be documented this way. Um, so yeah, there's that.
Oh, well,
Next
wonderful.
question.
All right, my turn. You're in the hot seat now again.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did your counseling business evolve over the years, both personally and professionally?
Okay, yes. So I wanted to bring this up because, when I first started podcasting, my intro says, I'm from Joliet, which is Prison City in a suburb of Chicago on the south side. And, mom used to say, you can take the girl out of Joliet, but you can't take Joliet out of the girl. And I
Oh,
identified with that. I did it. Yeah. And I sort of felt like I do have a rough edge to me. I put my excavation hat on. I dig relentlessly. I went where other therapists didn't go. I went into the SCBA maze. I went to the burn tower. I went on ride-alongs like 19 years ago.
yeah.
And I knocked on the doors and said, I can teach this class. Well, like, was I qualified? I was still learning and growing. So I had bigger ovaries back then. I won't say balls. Because I was just willing to do a lot of stuff that I don't think because I understand liability
Yeah, yes.
now. Um, and I have a lot to protect. as a professional and just personally. So I do feel like, okay, you were pretty edgy back then. You've really grown into a more strong clinical stance that is trauma informed. And I think I do understand human behavior and patterns, and I can back it up with theory and good practice and see results. So that's really changed. And then it encompasses, I think, both personally and professionally. I was also a little more tolerant of the danger, the chaos, and the unfairness of life.
Yes.
Whereas now I'm like, I will be more assertive. I can set more boundaries. I do have a standard of living, like there's integrity, behind the scenes. Not that it wasn't there before, but I'm just so much more solid in my older age, even though I'm going to say I'm still young.
Well, like Kathy Bates said in the movie Fried Green Tomatoes, I'm too young to be old and I'm too old to be young. That's where I'm
Excellent.
at right now.
I said, yep, yeah, and that's what a great movie quote, and I
Yes.
love that movie.
No, it's one of my favorites. And well, I absolutely love Kathy Bates. She's one of my favorite actresses forever. She's amazing. But we'll get back to that another
I'm sure they'll
time.
keep popping up.
Oh, yes.
Um, for your third question, it is what made you feel that you two, our two professional worlds, film and mental health, would complement each other in a podcast format?
Well, I think we just had that example
Yeah.
just now because you were saying, that you're older, but you are still young. And immediately that quote popped into my head. Yeah, it is a really strange and weird talent that I have. I can watch a movie once and I can remember it from start to finish. It's been that way since I was a kid. I don't know why my brain works that way, but I think with your clinical side, the files in my head will like just rush through to find a relevant movie that could go along with it to help um your clients to relate to something that can help them move past something that they're stuck with or traumatized by, or can give them like that kind of comedic release to just be like, oh, okay, so I'm not the only one who's going through this, even though it's a fictional character that has gone through it. So I think the compliment is your clinical side, a relevant side to like in the real world, and sandwiching it together.
I love how like people still think psychology is this little fantasy world of mamby-pamby land, and then why don't you cry into this box of tissues, you asshole? You know what I mean? It's like calm, but like, hey, this is I'm working in reality. But yes, you can bring in the real world, but for exactly the reasons that you said, movies happen and are a hit because they become relatable. They validate people's experiences, or they put words and images to something that they were experiencing, both in
Mhm.
their thoughts, their feelings, their body sensations. And it's still human behavior. So,
Yes, very true. Very true.
yeah.
All
So thank
right,
you.
let's see. All
Yeah.
right. So, all right, here's a good one. So what is your specialty area and what has been your favorite treatment modalities?
Okay. So I think everybody knows me as a first responder therapist, and certainly
Mhm.
that is the bulk of my experience.
Mhm.
What that led into is being a trauma informed therapist. So that's first responders as a specialty area, their trauma type, like work and duty related traumas, um, or something I'm very familiar with. However, as my practice has evolved, working with people's childhood traumas is a necessity many times in dealing with on-duty traumas because they're linked in a neural network. But so there's that, and I'll talk more as we keep unfolding this. But the other thing that working with first responders, especially throughout, this is my 19th year at the time we're recording this podcast, is mostly men. So part of me is like, I just specialize in men's psychology almost by default. And sometimes when I have a woman, not therapist, first responder or general population person, it's like,
Mhm.
whoa, this is very different,
Right.
than what I'm used to. The other thing, and I think and believe what's related to high stress, trauma, and working with men is that I've had to specialize in kink, odd or different we, sexual behaviors, habits, needs, wants, preferences. So
Mm,
there was like no way that I could work with men and not talk about men's sexuality, their
mhm,
desires, arousal patterns, orgasms, sexual pains.
mm,
Back in the day, we would call them paraphilias. I just call that kink conscious information now. Or even the urology, of men
yeah.
and helping them realize, like, dude, I think you might have low testosterone. Why don't you go talk to the doc about androgel or getting a testosterone shot or, get it tested and let's see if that's part of it. So that's been a huge part of my practice that I don't always talk about. And
Mhm.
then the other thing that that led into working with this population is that these men retire fairly young compared to other populations. So tier one guys were 50 years old and out, and they were doing second careers in executive level positions, whether that's being a chief somewhere else or becoming self-employed. So I started executive coaching, which led into bigger and different executive coaching positions outside of my first responder experience. So
Mhm.
there's that. And then as far as modalities, my first 10 years is different than my next 9. In my first 10 years, that Joliet grittiness was led by existentialism. And existentialism has a root word existent. Well, it goes existential, existent, exist. So if you
Right.
exist on your planet, you're an existential being. And it's a little bit of a rough edge therapy. It's kind of like, dude, this is all meaninglessness. You are isolated. You will have anxiety. You will have
Mm,
a ton of responsibilities. You have to make a bunch of choices. And in the end, we don't know if it matters. So
right.
I did a lot of that, and that led me into Buddhist psychology. So younger me back then, existential Buddhist psychology, studied yoga, got my yoga, teacher training certificate, and
Mhm.
really blended the idea of how important it is to notice if you're being unwise or wise. Not right, wrong, good or bad, but was this wise for you or unwise? And
Mm,
sort of also understanding that um, the world is, again, dangerous, chaotic, and unfair, but you don't have to be.
right, right.
So that's my number 3 answer.
Well, thank you, contestant number three.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that's excellent. Wow, I like the realization of how deep it goes for you is definitely something that I should have been aware of as your sister, but I'm just not.
No, I don't, well, it's not like I talk about it at the
Right.
dinner table either, and it was something that I developed after being with my family, probably because of our family. But
True, true.
which, and why you went into film.
Yes, very true.
Yeah, see,
It was a
childhood
good
trauma,
coping mechanism because I couldn't cope with life.
it's serious. And
Seriously,
same, I
yes.
think I found my answers in psychology too.
Yeah.
So your number 4 question, it says,
Mhm.
have there been moments where your different professional perspectives led to surprising, meaningful, I'm going to add, or unmeaningful discussions?
Yes. Oh goodness, yes. Um, I'm pretty sure, and Sarah can validate this, is that whenever there's been a serious situation, like when we've been discussing, I will literally all of a sudden just start. I'll like even look away from her and just start spouting off quotes, and just because my brain is processing the moment into something that's relatable, so that I can get my point across. And there's um I mean, there are some times where we do have really meaningful discussions, and I'll say, "Oh, well, this is just like that part in this movie where they were feeling this, and now that's how I'm feeling, but I don't want to go towards the path that they were looking for. I'm looking for something other than this." Or or if if it's something really like serious, but I can't get something out of my head that's funny, then I'll spout it out and we'll laugh about it because that helps bring perspective that, everything is just hell. But you have to have those moments where you just are like, okay, what else can we do about it? Nothing. So I think especially when I have movies that those movie moments in my head that are quite philosophical or that have that, that just that punch that gets you through what you're trying to discuss and getting your point across. And I think that when I come up with that quote, you can literally turn on your head and be like, see, now that's a psychology issue, or this is a counseling issue where you can, focus on this to make this happen. So definitely true. And we can have absolutely meaningless discussions too, where all of a sudden we're just laughing so hard that we're crying because we're
Yeah,
just
there's no
not
words.
back
It's just a
and
body sensation. Yeah.
forth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's meaning there, but there's meaning in every conversation, whether it's meaningful or not. There is meaning in all of it.
I agree. And I think the way that I have experienced you is that in my seriousness or my technicalness, my little neurodivergent self meets your neurodivergent self, and you bring some gravity, levity, but also you can quote something or reference a movie, and I know that you understand me and that you've just validated me, and that you could spend paragraphs explaining something, but that quick little quotation that you give, I'm like, it's in a nutshell and it packs a punch.
Yes, and that's what's so great about the entertainment world and artists as a whole is that they can get the point across with one line or
Yeah.
with one painting or with that one song where you just know that that is exactly what it is, what you're feeling, and they understand it. So absolutely true.
One is coming up for me right now. So I thought I should share that which one is blaring in my head.
Yeah.
But it's from Lethal Weapon. Leo gets, and he goes, they you in the drive-through. That's how I feel about life. They you in the drive-through.
You can see him in the back seat of that damn station wagon that's missing the door. Oh
It's
golly.
like
Yeah,
whatever.
that's such a great movie. And for first responders, that is an excellent movie reference is that deals with uh, a lot of PTSD that first responders go through. And Riggs is one of the like textbook PTSD cases I've ever seen in a movie because that man, Mel Gibson, played perfectly. Like nobody could have played it better than him. So that's a very good.
That was a good one. I got red on that one. But you're right about Riggs because he uses his trauma as his superpower to do things that no one else could or would do. And he goes outside the lines, gets the job done, but it always causes a paperwork mess and gives the social worker rejection complex. So outstanding Lethal Weapon movie fan.
Yes.
Um, Next question to keep
Yes,
ourselves on
my
time.
turn. Okay.
Yes,
Um, so how has attachment theory, IFS, AIP, or EMDR, and your somatic understanding of trauma influence your practice?
I must have written these questions.
You sure
Um,
did. Because I'm looking at these like, how do I read this
I just
question
so
without sounding robotic?
so here's the thing. Like when I said, in the beginning I would work with trauma, I felt like they just popped like zits with EMDR, or
Oh
even
yeah.
with something as simple as something called downward arrow technique, which is a cognitive behavioral therapy technique. Real basic therapy, but it got, to some points. But there were definitely first responders that came in and the trauma that they experienced at work, whether it was a moral injury with a chief or some authority figure, or it be an actual dead baby, car accident, a fire, officer involved shooting. Sometimes it tied back to the past for them. And you can't really solve a present day trauma or trigger unless you go back to the original file that was opened that's very similar to what's happening now. So
Right.
we look in the past of, we float back and take a look at what are the previous traumas in this linked up file. So attachment theory is super important because we all need connection and protection as children. If we are connected and protected by our parents, when shit hits the fan, as it always does, that love can help us heal, problem solve, do conflict resolution. But most of my clients, although they're high functioning, they don't have secure attachments with their parents. They have more intermittent attachment with their parents. And that causes anxious behavior, avoidant behavior, disorganized relationships later in life. And then they don't have the tools that connection and protection and love and self-understanding to help them. So we have to develop that toolbox in therapy, and attachment theory helps me do that. You look like you're going to say something.
Oh, no, not at all.
Oh, no. Okay.
That was
So that's the attachment theory, and that came into my practice. Internal family systems is IFS. And what that says is we have many parts operating within ourselves at one time. So I might meet a protector part that won't let me touch their trauma. I might meet a predator part that won't let me change the pattern of the behavior with their consent. So I have to make friends with some of these parts before I am allowed to get to the hurt child or whoever got hurt on duty or in life. So to make that a little more clear, a part of me, I always say wants to eat pizza tonight, but another part of me hopes I eat a salad. These
right.
two are in conflict with each other.
Mhm.
I have to solve the conflict between these two parts in order to make a good decision. And IFS helps me do that. On a more serious note, if your trauma, like we talked about with Riggs, is
Mhm.
fueling how effective you are at work, a
Mhm.
protector part will come in and be like, I don't need this psychological bullshit. I don't need your therapy. I'm not doing that. I'm not,
I'm sorry,
because it,
I didn't mean to giggle then, but all I could think about is his relationship with the police psychologist, because she knows he is so fucked in the head, but the captain's like, he's fine, he does the
fine.
job, he gets the job done, he's fine.
In fact, he antagonizes her. Yeah.
And yes, and especially when we get to the fourth lethal weapon, where she finally is like, my time is reserved for police officers with real needs who don't think that this is some sort of joke. And then she goes walking away, and he calls her by her first name, Stephanie, and she goes, Stephanie, like she is shocked that he called her by her first name, and then she continues to embarrass her by saying that he is, in a happy relationship, and that he won't, go out with her or whatever, and to like stop because it's pathetic kind of thing. And she's just like, I just want to kill this man because he's so
Yes.
messed up. So sorry. I know, tangent, but it was there in my brain.
No, it's a good tangent. Sometimes people bring up those movies to me. There's one that I hate the most, and I don't remember what it's called. Maybe you'll know it. It's the one where the psychologist sleeps with the cop. And I'm always like, God, fuck, damn it, stop mentioning.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. I want to
I
say
don't
it
know.
could it be Point Break? I don't think it's Point Break. I don't
No,
even know.
no. That's the point. It's not Point Break. That's Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze and uh 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 oh
We're gonna
goodness,
have
what
to
is
look
her
it up,
name?
or people can comment what the F
Yeah,
movie is that people always bring up to me. And I'm
yeah.
like, well, not
Put it down in the
always.
comments if you know what movie my sister's talking about, because this is one of the ones that I don't.
Yeah, it sucks. Like when that's called unethical, fucked up, and like don't do it.
Yeah.
Um, But I want to keep answering this question and ask
Yes,
you the
please
next
do.
question.
Hmm.
Because we talk about attachment theory, internal family systems, and then AIP means adaptive information processing,
Right.
which is saying that the present day trigger has an old point of disturbance. And in Buddhist psychology, we say you are wise if you realize that your reaction right now is rooted in something in the past. And if you heal the past, you heal the repetition compulsion, the repeating compulsion to be a nutcase in clinical terms. So, and then of course, EMDR is our natural way of healing, right? We're just using REM like movements, whether it be tapping, sound, or eyesight going back and forth to help the body process the somatic reaction of the trauma, which is your body's reaction to a trauma, your cognitive, emotional, um, behavioral, all levels. We integrate that. So it is definitely influencing, changing my practice all of the time. And I'll leave it there so that I can ask you the next question.
Oh, okay. I'm
Are you
ready.
ready? Are you ready? All right,
Yes.
number 5. If you could record an episode with any guest in the world, real or fictional, who would it be and why?
There are a million fictional characters that I would love to talk to. Pretty much every fictional character I've ever seen in a movie. Um, but if I could absolutely pick one that's fictional, I'd want to talk to the Empress from a foreign film. It's called The Curse of the Golden Flower, and Gong Li. She's the one who played the Empress, and God, I love that woman. She is one of the greatest actresses I've ever seen, because she has so much emotion in her face, but her face almost looks like stone at the same time. It's all in the eyes with her. And I would just love to sit with her and ask her how she's able to bring all of that emotion just in this part of her face, like right here. Um, and talk to her about her roles, because all of her roles are extremely powerful. They're very powerful women roles that I've seen, especially in that movie, The Curse of the Golden Flower. And she was also in Memoirs of a Geisha. She played Hatsumomo. Um, and she was also in the live action movie of Mulan. But I would love to just sit with her, because she's a very powerful female character in movies, and she has this powerhouse performance every time she comes to the screen. But if I could speak to somebody who was, at the actual person, it would be Keanu Reeves. I have loved that man since I first saw him when I was 6 years old. When I first saw him in,
C-I-N-C-I-N-N-A-C-I.
which one?
The
What?
C-I-N-C-I-N-N-A-T in
Yes,
Cincinnati.
yes, which was the 1984 version of Babes in Toyland, and young Drew Barrymore was in there with him, and I remember seeing it on TV for the first time. And I was like, oh my God, like I grew instantly attached to him. Um, and that movie, I think I had worn out. My mom had bought me the first VHS tape, and I wore it out because I watched it so much. And then when Cub Foods was still a thing, mom and I were shopping, and there was that bin of VHS tapes in the front, and there it was for $1. And so I got a brand new one that I also wore out
That's
eventually.
hilarious.
But I love Keanu Reeves as a person. He is a humanitarian and a wonderful, excellent man. He has financed children's hospitals throughout his career. He's given money away to crew members because he knows that they work hard to make him look good. He's just an excellent person all around, and he himself has had trauma in his life, but he always chooses quiet and kindness. And my one of my goals in my career was to work with him one day, and I never got a chance to. But I would definitely want to sit down with him because we also share birthdays, September 2nd Virgos.
Oh,
We were born
interesting.
exactly 20 years apart.
Well, as you're saying, you said before, like strong female role, and then you're bringing up this particular actress and Keanu Reeves, gentle kindness, I suppose. And I have the love of a strong lead female in a
Mhm.
movie, but they are like extremely badass and controversial. So
Mhm.
one would be Sigourney Weaver in Aliens,
Yes, I
because
love
it's,
her.
yeah, it's like this maternal femininity coming in to like, get away from her, you bitch, you know?
Well, yeah, well,
Um,
she brought that women just get the job done kind of
that's what
thing.
I was thinking. Yeah, and I got that when I was
So yeah, I
young.
love Sigourney Weaver too. She's incredible.
Yeah, and her feminine presence next to these Marines, she
Mhm.
was an equal. And the other one, ultimate favorite, Quentin Tarantino fan here, Kill Bill, 2 volumes of Do
Oh,
Not Fuck
excuse
With
me.
Me, bless you.
Thank you.
Um, or I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna come back at you
Mhm.
relentlessly. Now, that might sound
Yes.
like I have a revenge streak. I don't think I do, but I absolutely love the maternal story of Kill Bill and how
Yes.
patient she is with taking her time to get to her goal. So,
Yes. I agree.
Five Finger
100%.
Death Punch or something. I think that's a band, but also a move in that movie.
Yes.
Um, okay, I'm ready.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's see.
And for fun.
All right. So what other theories help you help others? And how is Chat GBT adding to your practice, not taking away? Because a lot of therapists, I think, feel threatened by a bot who can answer questions without maybe the cost.
Yes. So I've mentioned CBT, which to me is just the conversation we're having. In a way, this can help regulate cognitive behavioral therapy like effects. I don't know if I said that beautifully, but
Yeah.
um, it is just the very basic of counseling, but it ties in your environment with your thoughts, feelings, body sensations, behaviors. And that behavior can slip back into that environment and again affect the way that you think, feel, what your body reacts to, and more behavior again. So, cognitive behavioral therapy isn't terrible. And for whatever reason, and every time I've done a deposition, these, I want to say dumb attorneys, they're not dumb, they're smart, but they're dumb in my field. And they'll be like, well, why didn't you do cognitive behavioral therapy? I'm like, because it's not all that you can do in my field. So that theory wards off insurance companies and attorneys that don't know what they're talking about,
Mhm.
um, and can be somewhat of a basic beginning for a client. But dialectical behavioral therapy is really important for managing emotions because it talks about being mindful about yourself enough to do distress tolerance and to do some emotion regulation so that you are effective in your life. Because as we say, dudes can be testy, and there was a comedian that said something like, I know women sometimes cry and eat some dark chocolate, but you punch holes in walls.
Mhm.
So DBT and understanding the borderline behaviors in men that have histories of trauma or careers of trauma is really important, and DBT helps. There's also something called motivational interviewing, which is saying like, hey, that problem's way, way back here. My colleague Jessica helped me really understand this. Um, she's a licensed marriage and family therapist in Illinois, but she
Uh-huh.
described it to me as like our issues are back here and then they become in that periphery. We kind of start to notice them. They go from here to here. And so if this is, I'm not noticing, and this is me in the periphery kind of trying to deal with it, we have to make a plan, we have to take action, and then sustain that going forward. So motivational interviewing is really helpful with addictions, but I found that I had to pair it with something called PIA, which stands for the Palette of Interventions in Addiction, and it's an AIP EMDR model. And that just helps us flash forward, create future templates, and work through the barriers that keep you stuck in repetition compulsion or addiction or making yourself nuts, and it really breaks it down. And I think it's super helpful. The other thing that people don't expect me to say is yoga, Ayurveda, the Sankhya philosophy.
Mhm.
All of those have also helped me in my practice understand the somatic effects of trauma. So everyone knows how the body keeps the score by now. If you're learning about trauma, that book and those ideas are huge. But to me, Ayurveda, yoga, and understanding dorsal vagal ignite in inflammation or flare-ups, super
Right.
important, which might just sound like words, but we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
The chat GBT part. I'm loving it actually. I have to do
Really?
I have to do the disclaimer a little bit, but like with my clients. But what I'll do is I take notes with my clients. They often take pictures of my notes or I send it to them because they'll forget. They don't connect all the time, especially men, I've found will be
Yeah.
like, I don't know, what did we talk about last week? And I'm like, how did it unfold for you? Oh, it didn't. But giving them some notes, some tangible reminders of what we talked about really helps them. So I
Right.
started writing down, this is an internal family systems session. This is, a cognitive behavioral health session. This is more adaptive information processing. When you're at home, if you can finally catch yourself in a moment and get on ChatGPT and say, from an internal family systems perspective, a part of me wants to hang that picture and that frame on the wall for my wife, and another wants to go get lost in the hole in the wall bar and act
Mhm.
like I completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
Just, two parts at odds. And he could punch that into ChatGPT and it'll tell you, what an excellent question. The fact that you're even asking this is super insightful of you. So we get this
Yeah.
like little connection. And it spits out this brilliant answer. So far, the answers that ChatGPT has given my clients, I'm like, dang, I'm like, that's pretty smart. That was good. That was good. Did it help you? It did. You learned some stuff. Awesome. So to me, I bring the human to the ChatGPT experience. I think
Mm.
therapists are too scared of ChatGPT taking the human out of the experience.
Oh
And
yeah.
you
Yeah.
gotta work with it, bro. Like you gotta go with the times. And if this is going to help them get better the other 6 days and 23 hours they're not with you,
Hmm.
like nail that, like
Yeah.
end the pathology,
Yeah. Use
because
it as a support tool, not as a crutch. It's something that can boost what you're trying to help them with in that
exactly,
session.
exactly. So that's my answer for number 5.
I love it. All right. What's your question for me?
Number 6, was there a project or episode that felt like a turning point in your career?
Oh, actually, yes. Um, so one of my goals in the film industry was I wanted to work out in California. I wanted to work out it didn't necessarily have to be a Hollywood studio, but I just wanted to go to California. And I got the call to be a costume supervisor for a Lifetime movie out there. And it was called The Lost Boy. And I got to work with Virginia Madsen, who is one of the coolest ladies I've ever met in my life. She is so cool. Because she was also in the movie Candyman, which is one of my absolute favorite movies with her in it. Um, and I, you know, I drove out there. It was a 3-day drive to California by myself, and like I'm always so proud to say that because I was like, I have driven from east to west and north to south in this country. I have been everywhere. But that was kind of like a mini made it moment moment in my career because there are a lot of people who say they want to work in the film industry, but they only work like on independent projects or small things, or they don't feel like they've reached their goal. And that was one of mine, was to work in California. And I actually got to work out there twice. I did that movie, and then I did another Lifetime movie called Murder in Mexico.
Oh, there's a
And
Christmas bunny.
The Christmas Bunny was a Michigan film, and that
Oh,
was with Florence Henderson. And she was so fun. She was so cool, and definitely not Mrs. Brady in real life. She
that's
was
awesome.
like a total ball buster, and I miss her, I like all the time because she would keep up with me, and every once in a while, I'd hear from her via email to see how she was doing or how I was doing. So yeah, so that
So I
turning
have
point in my career was I met one of my goals was to be filming in California.
That's awesome. But it makes me I wanted to ask just now, didn't you do a movie with 50 Cent too?
I
Hashtag
did.
50 Cent.
And wow, can't believe I'm blanking on the name of the movie though, but it was the movie where he was a football player that ended up with a terminal cancer. Um, and I cannot believe I'm blanking on that right now. But that was like one of my very first movies outside of graduating uh, university. So I cannot remember the name, but yes, I did get to work with him.
The minute you
Very
stop
quiet
thinking,
man.
it's gonna pop right up. 50
Yeah,
Cent's quiet.
he was actually a quite a quiet man on set, and I mean, I'm sure that's because that he was in work mode at that point. But I mean, I because obviously I do not know him personally. But it was definitely a learning process that film for sure because
Yeah.
that was an intense one. Not because of the subject of the film, but because learning the difference between a movie set that you're learning on versus a real one, and they do not match whatsoever.
I know you've definitely been through a lot and probably unfold that and pack it, but there's two things I'm thinking about now. Like one time you gave me a little rock and I think it's from California.
Yes.
I still have
Uh,
that in a jewelry box somewhere.
yeah, I brought a whole bunch of rocks from the Pacific Ocean because we were on the coastline, and so I was like, aha, and I still have my rocks in my jewelry box. So
And what was the drive when I told you pull over and get a hotel right now?
that was, I had just wrapped Murder in Mexico, and I was on my way because Dad was sick, and for the second time. And so I was driving from California to Illinois by myself, and I had uh, was driving through Iowa, and you had called me because you were keeping an eye on the weather and where I was. And there was a severe storm going on in Iowa. And you were like, just wherever there's a hotel that's safe a place, just pull over and stay there because it's getting bad. And when it really was, it was like pitch black, rain and lightning. So I did. I stopped in Iowa and, you know, went to sleep and then woke up, I think like at 2 in the morning and drove the 4 hours that I had left, back home. So
Yeah, you've done some back-breaking work, I think. You have a ton of grit, which is my favorite word to describe people when I'm proud of them.
oh yay.
Yeah, so there you have it. Um, did you want to say anything else about that project in your turning point career question? Because I might have interrupted
Um,
them.
no, I don't think so. It was just meeting that goal. That like it was that turning point of like, okay, like I've made it. Now I filmed in California. Now what's my next big goal? And my next big goal was to keep going and becoming, somebody that people would wait for me to work with them, kind of thing. And obviously not that kind of important person,
I
but
wait to work with you now.
yeah, right. Um, but um from that point on though, like I felt that I had already made it. Like I was like, all right, my career, I've made it, I made my goal, and now I have a career that I love and I can keep going and be happy in it. So yeah, it was a good goal. And I'm very proud that I did it. So
Well, now you're going to be a podcaster.
yeah, right. Who'd have thought?
Who'd have thunk it?
I've always been behind the scenes my entire life. I started in theater, was a stage manager for a long time, then went to film and was a costumer, and now I'm in front of my laptop camera, but still a camera.
Still cameras. Are
All
we
right.
ready to hit? Yeah, we're gonna.
Yes. Your turn. Yeah, because we've already been chatting like crazy, haven't we? All
We've been
right,
chatty.
so let's see. So what is your theory on pain?
So I'm going to try to be fast about this. But when I was in grad school, we had to write a final paper. And it was why do people come to therapy? And if you want to explain why they come to therapy, how are you going to help them with that?
Mm,
So I wrote this little thesis of a paper and said people come to therapy because they are in pain. And we have to find perspective on their pain.
Yeah.
Because once we get a little bit of perspective, meaning whatever psychology education, a different angle of looking at things, we can have a purpose. And that
Hmm.
purpose is always going to be post-traumatic growth, which at that time I didn't know to call it post-traumatic growth, which I want to say I don't really agree with resilience, not with trauma work. And
Right.
that's like the huge thing in the first responder world. We're going to be resilient. Resilient means bounce back. You can never bounce back to what you were like before a trauma. I digress. So pain has to have perspective so that you can have purpose with it and then be productive with it. And again, productive means growth to me. And if you're productive with something that's awful, then you will feel a sense of pride in yourself. And that's really important. Otherwise, your self-esteem sinks down and the fear of I can't live my life can take over.
Hmm.
So we're going to have pain, perspective, purpose, productivity, a sense of pride. Like, hey, I don't like the way life threw shit in my fan, but I
Hmm.
like the way I can clean it up, you
Yeah.
know? So there's that sense of pleasure coming in then. If I'm proud of myself and I like the way that I work, then there is some pleasure in experiencing the pain that I have on this planet. Again, dangerous, chaotic, unfair place, if you ask me. And when you can turn pain into pleasure, you are powerful.
Hmm.
And that's how I feel. Like you go ahead, rain on my parade. I will still have a parade. Go ahead, throw shit in my fan. I know how to clean that up. Go ahead, throw me a doozy. I've got tools in my toolbox. So I'm a little sassy and I like to be the boogeyman to trauma. And in that power, I have grown in my potential. So these are all my P words that happened in this paper,
Yeah.
right? That led me down a path of guiding other people. If you're coming to me with pain, we're going to turn it into your potential. The more pain you have, the more potential you have, actually. And don't be scared.
Oh,
Dang.
very, very interesting.
Ready for number 7?
I am. Bring it on.
Do you approach difficult or sensitive topics more analytically, emotionally, or through storytelling?
Oh, I think that's obvious storytelling. It's the
Yeah.
only way that I can uh cope with things. And I had coped with movies and TV like from a very young age, and Sarah knows this, you know this, of course. Because I would be so engrossed in something that you could literally be yelling my name and I couldn't hear you because I was focused on what I was processing. So definitely storytelling is the way that I approach difficult or sensitive topics, because there's there's always an ending to a story, whether it's a good ending or quote unquote happy ending, or if it's an unresolved ending. I mean, there are movies that just cut off, and there isn't like a resolve for it. But you know that, okay, somebody else is going through the same thing. That cut off of the ending is okay. So what are they going to do to fix their situation? What am I going to do to fix mine? So definitely storytelling and figuring out step by step. There's that whole arc. There's the beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. So
I can really appreciate that too. I think I have used both the movie Alien and Kill Bill, more so Kill Bill, to be like, I have endurance. I am in the middle of this story. There will be an end. And then
yes,
I'll have a little path and clearing, and then I'll have a next level problem. But
yeah.
because life just relentlessly gives me one problem after another. But I accept that that is sort of how life is.
Mm,
And it's one movie after another, one phase after another. And
yeah.
each time I'm in a new phase or Sarah movie, um, I've never been there before. And
Sure.
I have to be brave and just say, okay, how am I going to do this one?
Hmm. Hmm.
Pulling on all the previous experience. So I think storytelling helps, which is why we've done it through the centuries.
Yes, our
Yes.
artistry has helped our understanding of everything. I mean, that's what people look at in terms of history, the art that was there to explain what was going on. But you ready for your next one?
Yes.
All right. So, what do you hate the most about being a first responder or therapist?
So I'm okay saying hate. Some people are like, oh, don't say hate. No, I hate certain things. Anyway, I whenever an attorney is involved,
Mm,
uh, My body hates it. I get nervous. I start to sweat. I feel like I need to confess, like I once hit my sister and pulled her hair. I don't know. I'm not guilty about anything, but like automatically I want to shit my pants. So I don't like that, and I don't exactly and never have gotten to the bottom of that, except for it's my own character cleansing. I do really work with integrity.
Yeah.
So to be questioned, I really don't like it. Or when the opposing counsel, it's their job to make me look like a quack or like I screwed something up. And
Yeah.
that's just their job. But I'm like, that hurts my client though,
Yeah.
and so I really hate those interactions. And it's sort of become a bit of specialty of mine. I did a chapter in Help the Helpers with some colleagues. It's chapter 34 about some of the legal things, and there's a podcast out with me and David Dashinger doing that. So that way people can maybe look it up if they would like to. But I always tell them, I don't like this. Like, I don't love it. I can't believe that's my chapter. I have things that I'm so passionate about and that I love, but I hate the legal side of my work, which also makes me lead into the fact that I hate insurance companies and they are really driving me bonkers. They want to record sessions. They want AI to write my notes. They want to claw back money. They can. Nobody knows that legally insurance companies can literally dig into my business checking account and remove any sum of money at any time.
Yeah.
And most of the time when they do that to me, I never know why. Um, and my clients don't understand like how financially stressful that is, and I don't need
Right.
them to understand it, but I do. I'm hating working with insurance. It's getting worse, and I might drop it sometime in the future. But the third thing I hate about the first responder work is there's no camaraderie with the other clinicians. Now, for those that I have some relationships with and we are close and back and forth in a very friendly way, my field is very isolated as it is. And I've been doing this work for a long time. And I have experienced some really shitty rejection behavior from other therapists. And when I came down to Florida and I said, hey, I do this work, it's just like, I'm better than you, reject Sarah, you're not, legit. And I'm like, no, I'm legit. I think I am. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
perfect, but neither are you. And I have
Nobody is.
something to offer. Yeah. So I also don't like that. I don't like how we're not helping each other because whenever a first responder clinician or someone who wants to be a first responder therapist calls me, I have done nothing but help them, give them secrets, dig in, give them
Yeah.
resources. And by God, the unprofessional, gross behavior of I'm better than you is still around.
You know what? That's true in any profession, though, because there are, I mean, especially in, yeah, well, every industry there's competition, and in the filmmaking world, there is always somebody better. There is always the bigger bear, so to speak. And th- there are, I mean, there's so much even on set where, like, if you're hired to be the costume supervisor, and there's somebody who's was hired as an intern, and they're like, I can do your job better, like the way you're doing it is wrong. Like,
I don't like that. And I think to myself, I can't do it like you. So calm down.
yeah,
And by the way, you're not me, so you can't do it like me either. You're always going to
exactly.
have your own spin on it. So that answers that question. I'll ask you number 8 because this is a long podcast, but we are doing all 20 questions. We're
We
doing
we're
it.
we're almost there. We got what, three left for each, so we're getting there. We're almost
Here,
done. Hang in there.
yeah.
Stay with us.
This was ambitious. Who keeps the outline tight and who's most likely to go off in a brilliant tangent?
Oh, Sarah's probably the one who will stay to the letter because that's how her brain works. And I am the brilliant tangent person because that's really what happens in my brain. My brain will connect to a movie whether it's relevant or not because it just there's a tone or a word or something that clicks, and boom, I will literally go off on a tangent, explain what that tangent might be relevant to what we're talking to about, or why it isn't in any kind of way. So me, I'm the brilliant one.
I was
Okay,
just gonna say, I think we're both brilliant tangent people, but go ahead.
okay,
I'm ready.
all right. Ooh, sorry, hay fever. Woo. Ooh, it is like really strong today, but the wind is up here in Georgia. So, ooh. Okay, so since we had a hate question, what do you love the most about helping first responders?
I have a short answer.
Okay.
It's it's easier than you think to pull yourself out of darkness. And when I can see them noticing the light at the end of the tunnel and it's not a train, it's really awesome. And to
Yeah.
see people evolve to this next level of self-awareness,
Mhm.
recognizing their patterns, choosing to change, it's pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, good. Yeah, that seeing that progress is probably the most, you know, enlightening feeling in the world, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say I could be addicted to that maybe, but that sounds like such a strong word, but it
Right.
it definitely keeps me excited, because
Yeah.
I do have mornings where I'm like, yeah, I gotta go to work. I'm not going to the beach. Um, but then I look at who I'm gonna talk to and I'm like, oh, we got shit to do. We got things to talk about. I want to see how this unfolded. So
Yeah.
yeah. Number 9,
Oh, I'm ready.
if your hosting styles were movie genres, what would each of you be?
Uh, I would be a horror comedy,
A
and Sarah would be a documentary.
a boring documentary. Dude, I was gonna ask you what genre is Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill. I would be that.
No,
An
no, Sarah,
existential
bless you.
crisis.
Sarah, bless you. But you are
Excuse me.
book smart. But you are, bless you, you are dumb with common sense.
Are you like when you say bless you 3, 4 times, isn't that fuck you in the South?
No,
Yeah,
that's bless your heart.
bless
Oh,
your
bless your
heart.
heart.
Oh, but bless me,
Um,
I'm safer. Great.
but if I could give an example to you folks, I once had this woman convinced that the sticker on a washing machine meant that you shouldn't stare into it because you could become hypnotized. And she believed me.
Oh man, I
And I let her go the entire day thinking that. And at the end of the day, I said, Sarah, it meant don't open the door while it's spinning.
I vaguely remember this. I am
And
laughing. Yes, go ahead.
so I think you have the facts. You are a fact person. You are excellent at knowing facts, knowing procedures, knowing how things should, can, or will work.
Mhm.
And not documentaries are not always boring. I mean, there's some that are sleepy, but there are some documentaries that are fascinating. So don't take
Yeah.
that as a dig. Take that as a huge compliment because you have the information. For me, saying a horror comedy is because I could take any bad situation and make it hysterical if I wanted to. So
See, you're taking pain and turning it into potential or pleasure. So it's fits. Yeah, it's a
exactly,
coping strategy. It's a tool in the toolbox. Um,
exactly.
I still think that I'm an existential foreign film.
Okay, you can identify as that.
I can identify as a foreign film.
You can.
Awesome.
Okay, all right, here we go. You're number 9. What will change in your practice going forward?
Cash paying.
Oh,
Like this insurance thing is,
yeah.
yeah, it's daunting. They don't pay your fee. They pay late. They claw back. They have stupid standards.
They
I
cause
know it's
major
all
problems.
it's all in the name of professional clinical practice.
Yes.
But I think in the future, I will be affordable cash. And when it's your own business and you're not ruled by insurance companies, I could do things like have punch cards, be like, dude, you have 10 sessions, you get the 11th free.
Yeah.
Like I can work in a reasonable price and frequent flyer pricing and maybe just, I know, but do something that makes a little more sense to me because I'm losing out and I'm not
Yeah.
getting promoted in my field anytime soon because there is no promotion.
Right.
And I'm not making as much as my internship supervisor back in 2005, you
Oh yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So like to see that in such a long period of time, we still don't value therapists and we will pay
Mhm.
a doctor hundreds of dollars for a 15-minute moment, and I'm spending
Yeah.
an entire hour combing through your life, remembering your wife's name, your kids' names, your chief, your the people that you're supervising, like screw you,
Yeah.
insurance companies. So I think that that will be changing in the near future. Also, I'm teaching classes again. That changed with coming to Florida. I will do more life coaching and more men's groups as well.
Oh, wow. So are you teaching like university style or like
No, that
seminar style?
seminars. So I have like 2-hour workshops for first responders, and
Oh,
I'm
very good.
actually doing my first one in 2026 for a fire department in the south side of Chicago. I think they're south side. Well, they're in near. So excited
Exciting.
to be, yeah, to do that again. Last question for you
I'm ready.
in one sentence, which
Oh,
is right. What's the superpower each of you brings to the mic?
okay. My superpower is bringing perspective through storytelling, and Sarah's is bringing perspective through personal experience.
I like it.
I think
I like
that's
it.
I think that's good. Yeah. So there's my one sentence. That question's over.
I think, yeah, but I think you also bring the perspective, like when you were reacting to some of the things I said earlier. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people don't know that. But I think we should. It's 2026. Therapy is a thing. We're not rejecting it anymore. Like, let's
Right.
get deep on
Yeah.
life because it is. I don't know what my superpower would be other than when I'm a Sarah and I'm
Mhm.
loyal to myself and I'm in alignment with myself. I don't do too bad.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You just it's all about bringing our, you know what it is really our superpowers is that we each have different strengths that can really bring serious help to those who are listening. So,
Yeah, serious help.
very good.
That's clinical term.
All right, your last question. What advice do you give yourself?
Okay. I'm gonna answer this, check in with you, and
Okay,
close this up. So,
got it.
one, do life so it doesn't do you.
Okay.
Eat well, sleep well, hydrate, choose joyful things.
Mhm.
Live by love, gratitude, kindness, compassion, wisdom, and integrity. Never stoop so low as a person who's triggered in their own ignorance.
Mm.
So those people kind of bring out the Joliet in me. I'm like, oh, that was fucking dumb. I got a
Yeah.
fucking dumb part too. Um, so I got to make sure that I don't have ignorant reactions when inspired by
Mhm.
ignorance. Um, and also, I've learned that whenever I am repeating something, that repetition compulsion needs to be noticed. Because if I can cultivate a self-awareness around that, I can recognize my patterns and choose to change. And there goes that unwise, wise moment.
Right.
So to me, that is a major coping skill. If you Google what are some good coping skills, they'll tell you to take a couple deep breaths, a warm bath, go for a walk, call a friend. I'm like, that shit
Yeah.
never worked for me. Just delayed or numbed the feeling. But a deep introspective pratyahara dive in to the center of my being
Yeah.
um, has helped me solve all the problems, and people avoid that. So I don't know if you want to comment on that before I wrap this up.
No, like the only advice I give myself is try not to take everything so seriously. Because you know what? At the end, it'll turn out. Something will happen. And it's just something that you just got to keep moving forward because you don't know what the ending is yet.
Right.
Think of it that way.
Yes. And, or there's sweetness in that there is a final end, and we
Hmm.
don't know about that either. So
Exactly.
I could do this for an inevitable amount of time.
So could
Inevitable
I.
and
For an
undefined.
insurmountable amount of time.
So no,
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 that's not the right
there's a
word.
different word.
Uh,
People can type that in the bottom too. The word
yeah.
was not an inevitable amount of time. It was a
Uh,
unending
an
and
unending or forever. I don't know.
in
Infinite
undefined,
amount of time.
infinite amount of time.
There.
F. So I also have to mention this was made by a favorite person of mine. Thank you.
Ah,
All right. So thank you so much for doing this first podcast. Welcome
absolutely.
everybody to the new format. And I'm Sarah Gura. This is,
Colleen Gura Collins.
and I'm a master's level licensed clinical professional counselor, also licensed mental health counselor. Did I say that right or twice? A licensed clinical professional counselor in Illinois and a licensed mental health counselor in Florida, whatever. My practice is the self-care path. I specialize in treating first responders. Have a beautiful day. Bye.
Hi, everybody.